Thank you, everybody, for joining today for this discussion on insecticides. We have a wonderful panel today. Introduce folks to get this out of the way. So we have Zach Brown, who's head of plant health at Bailey Nurseries, brings us 2 decades of growing experience, and I'm sure a lot of other good stories there. We have Dr. Lance Osborne, professor of entomology at the University of Florida, an expert in IPM and specializes in biological control methods for ornamental pests. And we have Billy Morrow, a SEPRO technical specialist for the Northeast and a former grower of 25 years. And Dr. J.C. Chong, who came to SEPRO's Research and Development Department in 2023 from Clemson University. We also have Casey Zeller, who's our director of SEPRO Turf and Ornamental. And again, thank you everybody for attending. So why are we here? So we want to talk about a few products that we have and how they will fit into your nursery rotation programs. Provide some practical guidance to simplify your insect control program. Some rotation strategies that you'll hear from some real world events that are going on. Some people here on the panel that have real world experience with this, and proven insights from these growers that they have used in the field. And one last reminder, if you do have questions during the webinar, please use the Q&A box, and we will address as many as possible that we can during the webinar. And if we run out of time, we will save all of these questions and we'll be emailing you some answers after the webinar. So please don't hesitate to ask your question. And with that, we can get started. Dr. Chong, take it away.
Thanks, Dennis. What we're going to talk about today, as Dennis mentioned, probably some of the insect portfolio that we provide, Akari, Hachi, and Talus. A lot of what I want to focus on today is really thinking about where this product actually fit and what they are, and particularly on your rotation program. And I'm sure there's going to be a lot of questions, so I invite you guys to really use the Q&A function on this webinar to really ask us a lot of questions. And one other things I want to really bring out today is a new invasive pest that we're dealing with right now. It's almost like we're dealing with new invasive pests every other week, it seems like that way. But this particular one definitely is going to be quite a bit of issue. The two-spotted cotton leafhopper is already triggering some quarantine. So I want to talk about that and how we can actually manage it and some resources that you can use for that. Next. So of course, there's a lot of bugs that are bothering you guys, but we always know there's going to be the top 5 really: the aphids, the thrips, the spider mite, the whiteflies, and also the mealybugs for sure. And so from year to year to year, it's not surprising that we always have the same kind of issues popping up, even though their relative importance may be a little bit different, but we have about the same thing. But overall, there's quite a big range of pests that we deal with day in and day out. Next. But what I can tell you is that, we at SEPRO, we definitely have all the solutions for your pest problem, your major pest problem. And one thing that we at SEPRO are committing to is really bring in new product every so often, really to help us and help you to build a much better rotation program along the way. We'll come back to this later, but first I kind of want to give you guys a little bit introduction to the 3 products that we have, which is Akari, Hachi, and Talus. Next. So let's talk about Akari first. Akari is our miticide. The active ingredient is fenpyroxamate. The IRAC code number is 21A. The formulation is SE formulation, so you know that the crop safety profile for this product is pretty good. And really, one of the best selling point for Akari is that it is a broad spectrum miticide. You can use it to control just about any of the mite species. It could be spider mite, it could be broad mite, cyclone mites, or any of the area fire mites that you're dealing with, like rosette mite or russet mite, all of that. And on top of that, Akari is effective on all your life stages. So it is not just a microgrowth regulators. It can kill eggs and nymphs, no doubt, but it can also kill the adult. So it can kill all the life stages there. It would definitely be and one other benefit is that it actually stops feeding very, very quickly. You spray it, and the mite usually stop feeding within about 3 to 5 hours. So it works out very, very quickly. So I always think of Akari really should be a foundation for any of the mite program that you have developed for your operation. Next. So again, like I mentioned earlier, you can use it for a lot of different species, and this is some of the horror story that I've come across during my time traveling around. For example, spider mite and Cerosia. You probably seen a little bit of curling and then stipplings, but this picture, if you zoom in real close, you're going to see a ball of spider mite sort of hanging out on the top of the leaves. You know that by that time, when that ball is starting to happen, you basically are losing a crop. Last year and the year before, we have quite a bit of issues on Lewis mite on poinsettia. Akari has been proven to be a very effective product for that. And broad mite has become more of an emerging issue for us as well, especially in the nursery production. So Akari is also very effective for broad mites. Next. So next product, very quickly, is Hachi Hachi. Hachi Hachi is a tophenpyrite. It's in the same group as Akari, but it is a very different product because it is a broad spectrum insecticide. The formulation of Akari is SE. Now, some of you probably still remember some of the horror story. You probably still think that, oh man, I don't want to use Akari. It's going to burn my crop. I heard about that. Now, that is a story from 13 years ago. So let's not continue to rehatch that in any way. Hachi SC, after we changed from the EC formulation to SC, the crop safety profile has increased dramatically. There's still a short list of plant species you don't want to use it on, but you are not going to have a lot of issues with Hachi SC outside of those limited list of sensitive plant species. It is a very effective product, especially for species such as thrips, like western flower thrips in this case. Next. Or the invasive thrips parvispinus. I'll talk a little bit about that later on. But it's not just for thrips. You can use it for aphids and very effective for caterpillars as well as some of the leaf-feeding beetles. Next. And for example, the red-headed flea beetles. We have done quite a bit of work with Hachi Hachi, showing that one application at about 21 fluid ounce really can stop red-headed flea beetle damage on the new and tender leaves. So it would really help you with managing this pest that's really becoming quite a bit of menace in nursery production. Next. And one other thing similar to Akari is that Hachi Hachi actually stopped feeding very, very quickly. This is one of the study that's been published in the past already, 6.5 fluid ounce Akari for caterpillars. As you can see, even within one day, the caterpillar already stopped feeding in this case, while the other ones already continue to feed for the next 3 days. Next. And Hachi Hachi is also a fungicide. Believe it or not, it's an insecticide and a fungicide. In the fungicide, FRAC group 39, it is for preventive control of downy mildew and powdery mildew. And this is Hachi Hachi used on cucumber, powdery mildew. As you can see, at 13 fluid ounce per 100 gallon, you get pretty clean cucumber crop out of that. Next. The last product I want to introduce is Proprofazin or Talus 70DF. This is a powder formulation. Well, it's actually a pellet formulation, so it's pretty easy to make and shave. It is an insect growth regulators. So a lot of time when we think about insect growth regulator is that it will stop the eggs from developing or stop the nymph from developing. But Proprofazin has been proven, especially in scale insects, that they can reduce adult reproduction as well. So not only are you stopping the nymphs from growing, the eggs from hatching. You're also slowing the adult reproduction as well. So in some way, Thales really is helping you breaking the life cycle. Now, Thales is only for use against sucking insects, but when it uses for sucking insects, it's super effective for leafhoppers, for whiteflies, for mealybug, for scale insects. And I'll give you guys some information about what I do when it comes to dealing with scale insects and mealybug later on. One of the benefit of Thales is that it is very soft and beneficial. That has been proven quite a bit down in older operation. Next. A few pictures again. This is on whiteflies. There are some studies suggesting that 3 days after one application, you can already see almost 91% reduction in whitefly population. Is effective, very effective against mealybugs. For example, 2 studies here. One of them was citrus mealybug. 2 applications, 2 weeks apart. You can reduce your mealybug population by 95%, 93%. And some of the work on Madeira mealybug showing that you can actually reduce the population almost completely just by 2 applications. Next. Here come the scale insects. My background is on mealybugs and scale insects. I love them. I can't help it. But they're always very difficult to control, definitely. For example, some of the armor scale like gloomy scale, or some of the felt scale like crepe myrtle box scale, they are blowing up all over the place. And what we're finding out very effective against scale insects in general is a combination of the Thales tank mixed with 2% horticultural oil. And you make that application a couple of times at crawler emergence. But what I mean by crawler emergence is basically when the eggs are hatching and the little guys are starting to climb all over the place. It's pretty hard sometimes. If you just look for them, it's pretty hard to find them. But there is an easy way to do it. So that picture on the right-hand side showing you is basically a black electrician tape wrapping around the trunk with the sticky side on the outside, serving as a trap, trapping those crawlers coming up and down. That way, you can use that to actually see to actually control the see when the crawlers are actually coming out. When you're starting to see the crawlers on the sticky trap, it is time to spray. Spray one time, spray the second time. So for Thales and also for mealybugs, my preferred rate is 16 ounce to 100 gallon. So that is the rate that we have tried and become and very effective along the way. Next. So as I show you, Akari, Hachi, and Thales, they all have can solve a lot of your pest problem. So if you have all three in your storage compartment, you basically have two for at least 1, 2 for all these pest species. Next. And these products are also registered for different uses, all the indoor and outdoor production site, as well as ornamental, non-bearing, and some of the greenhouse tomatoes, some of the greenhouse vegetables. For example, Akari, you can use it on tomato, cucumber, and pepper, and Hachi, you can use it on tomato, cucumber, and as well as Christmas tree as well. So these three products would basically solve your pest problem on both ornamental and on vegetables, indoor and outdoor. Next. And of course, these three products have different profile when it comes to compatibility with biological control. As we have information about those as well. Well, in this case, I kind of group all these beneficial insects in big group, but understand that different species may have a little bit of differences, responses to some of the product. But overall, Hachi is not particularly compatible with biological control. Akari is not particularly compatible with predatory mite because it's a broad spectrum miticide. But Thales is compatible with just about all the biocontrol agents. Now you would look at that and say, oh man, I don't want to use Hachi because it's going to cause issues with our beneficial program. Well, not really. There are several ways that you can really use Akari and Hachi in your program while you're doing biological control. The first way is basically that, well, I have plant I need to ship, but I still have predatory mites running all over the place. So a good way to use Akari would be to spray it to kill those beneficial mites, crazy as it sounds, so that when it get to the next state, the plant inspector don't confuse the predatory mite with a two-spider mite and reject the shipment. Hopefully that doesn't happen, but in case it might happen, there would be one use for it. Another way you could definitely use Akari Hachi Hachi is really release the biocontrol agents 3 to 7 days after the applications. By that time, the residual would be low enough that the predators typically will survive the applications. Next. So as far as rotation is concerned, I would these are the 4 points, four tips that I often give when it comes to building a rotation program. The first one is I usually recommend that you use a different mode of action, not different IRAC number or IRAC letters or trait names. Now remember, it's different IRAC number 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, not A and B. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Use different IRAC number for each for different generation. And you can use the same IRAC number or mode of action for the same generation, but at the time that it is going to be dealing with the next generation, you want to rotate to the next one. And I often recommend that you sort of include a product with low risk of resistance development into your program. For example, soap and oil, if those are useful. And if you could use biological control, that would be very useful as well. And lastly, basically hit them hard with what you got. Don't go with just half rate. Don't go with the less effective product. And don't go with a product that is not effective against one particular life stage. Go with something that is most suitable for that information, for that situation, and hit them hard at that stage. Next. So I usually give rotation program talk at a lot of trade shows, and that usually is a 1 hour talk. So I only got about 2 minutes, I was told. So I'm just going to show you some info resources that you can use later on. You can also always get it just by scanning that QR code, or just come to our website or talk to one of our technical specialists. We'll be happy to provide you with this insecticide guide for free. The first one is our ornamental insecticide guide. Some of you have seen that for quite a few years now. So it's basically lists the product by IRAC number, the active ingredient, the trade name, and what kind of pest it controls, as well as use site and REI. Next. And we also have a relatively new greenhouse vegetable insecticide guide. And the same thing. In this case, we have IRAC number, the active ingredient, the trade name, the REI, the PHI, whether it's OMRI listed, and also what crop it is registered for and what pest it is registered for, some of the major pests anyway. So hopefully this will be very useful guide for you guys. But I think one of the most important thing or most useful aspect of this guide, next please, is actually rotation program. At the back of this poster, pretty big poster, you can just hang it up. At the back of them are some of the rotation program that I put together. I did not pull this information out of thin air. It's consulting a lot of research to really come to this program. Hopefully they'll be useful for you guys as well. Next. And remember what I say about invasive pests, they come out all the time. So we always develop new resources for invasive species. A couple years ago, we developed a rotation guide for thrips parvis spinus. And here are some of it. Very similar is, application 1, 2, 3, 4, or product 1, 2, 3, 4. And then for different situation like greenhouse, nursery, or landscape. Just give you a handy information to help with that.
Hey, JC, a question going back to spider mites, and Lance, this may be for you on the effectiveness of miticides. A lot of people see that, or say miticides aren't that effective. How can somebody be sure they're getting proper spray coverage for mites, especially in dense foliage? How do they know if they're getting enough of the miticide to contact the insects? And you're on mute right now, Lance.
There's a couple things that we recommend. I think one is that you identify a plant that has some mites on it. You might even put a bean plant out there and infest them with the mites and follow that population. We recommend that you uh, get this spray uh, paper, the spraying systems company that sells it, the water sensitive paper, and put that in a piece of that in the canopy to mimic the mites, and then you look to see if you're getting enough of the piece of paper turning blue. Uh, it's just, and you have to rely on your scouts, okay, and make sure that they can go in and see whether or not you're getting what you expect. Does that answer your question?
Yeah, I think that does. Thank you very much.
Right, and I would follow up with that, which is that the water sensitive paper is actually pretty good too. Try to use it every time you calibrate your sprayer. If you do calibrate your sprayer, needed to do that, which is that I usually just kind of stick one of those relatively deep inside the canopy, run the sprayer over it, and then see how many blue dots are on it or how evenly that blue dots actually are. If you got a pretty good coverage, your entire card, which usually is yellow, will turn blue. That means that you got pretty dang good coverage. But if you have kind of spotty, then you probably need to look at your sprayer again, look at your nozzle again, look at your volume, just to make sure that you are delivering the right droplet size and the spray coverage and the volume to your crop. And what we're seeing in the past is that a lot of time it is not so much a miticide that is the issue, but a lot of time it's actually not delivering enough material through enough volume and coverage. Then you ended up not getting very good control.
Okay, we have another miticide question. So, can I tank mix 3 to 5 modes of action for miticides in the same tank? I've been told this is not a good approach. Why or why not?
Well, let me start with that. Lance, you could probably just help me out with here. So I am definitely not an opponent of doing too many mode of action. Let For one thing, from a stewardship standpoint, here's the one thing. We have probably about 12 mode of action in miticide or insecticide that can also control mites. If you mix 4 of them in there, that means that your next rotation will have to be 4 more that's completely different. It takes you only 3 applications to run out your 12th mode of action. And then what are you going to do? You come back and spray the same thing. That is almost like a recipe for you to develop, have a firestorm of spider mite resistant coming out pretty quickly. And another thing would be that, I always think that tank mixers have value, but you kind of have to do it carefully. First of all, I think a sensible reason to do tank mix. First of them is you try to deal with different pest species at the same time, or you're dealing with different life stages at the same time. In that case, I think you probably have a better reason to do tank mixes in that case.
We see a lot more damage on some of the plants that come to our plant clinic from people mixing too many things together and they end up with phytotoxicity. So I think you need to be very, very careful and run some trials on representative plants to make sure that what you're mixing together is compatible and safe to your plants.
Very good.
Thanks, Lance. Rob, let's move to the next. So let's talk about another invasive species, the two-spot cotton leafhopper. It is also known as cotton jasset. So what is so important about this particular pest is that it will cause hopper burn. Some of you are familiar with hopper burn. If you have potato leaf hoppers that get on red maple, it will cause very similar issues. So your leaf starting to crinkle up, is distorted. and you're starting to have growths on the leaf, and that growths often start from the outside in. So these are some couple of example of what hopper burns look like. This is still sort of in the early stage. You got this yellowing on the edge. The one on the left-hand side is cotton, and the one on the right-hand side is a hibiscus. And that kind of come to a second bigger issue with cotton leafhopper is that it attack and severely damage cotton. So growers are really nervous about it, and the states are very nervous about it as well. But for ornamental production, hibiscus really is one of the one of the focus for this particular pest. Next. You can find all the life stages on the underside of the leaves. On the right-hand side, you got several nymphs running about. And on the right-hand side, that is an adult. So the adult have two black spots on the end of their wings. So here comes the common name is two spot. So they are not difficult to identify as adult. But as nymph, they look just like the nymph of all the other leafhoppers. I have colleagues that say, "Oh yeah, you might be able to identify them by their behavior. They're kind of very erratic. The name's kind of erratic, moving about under the leaves when they're disturbed." But I was like, I've seen that on other leafhopper species as well. So probably not the best way to do it. But anyway, if you have hibiscus, they're starting to show that yellowing on the edge, and you can rule out any kind of phytotoxicity or nutritional deficiency issue, definitely want to look underneath the leaf and see whether you can find these leaf hoppers. Next. These are just show you the different sizes of that leaf hoppers. So the names can get to probably about 2.5 millimeter, and the adult can get to about 3 milliliter. As the slide previously shown you, the adult probably is the width of your pencil eraser. So about that size. Next. So right now, the two-spot cotton leafhopper, they come from Asia. They first showed up in the Caribbean, in Puerto Rico, and then in Florida in 2024. And then 2025 is the year when they're starting to blow out in the South. So right now we have infestation confirmed from the Carolinas through Florida, Georgia, Alabama, Mississippi, Louisiana, Tennessee, as well as Texas. In Texas, the state actually imposed a quarantine on hibiscus from all the other states, Alabama to Tennessee, and also imposed quarantine on hibiscus out of several of their own county that has known infestation: Cameron, Gibbs, Fort Bend, and Walton County. So nurseries in this location have to, show that they do management well, and they have issues with hibiscus going out from their location. So it's causing a lot of hardship for a lot of folks, for sure. Next. But the entomologists are really stepping up and really do a lot of work to try to figure out what are the best solution to control the two-spotted cotton leafhopper. And work are being done in Florida, in Georgia, at Clemson, really looking at this particular issue. And some of the early preliminary results coming out from them, and which is I'm pretty happy with, obviously, which is that they reported that Hachi is one of the most effective insecticide for both direct contact, which is knockdown. Next. And also for residual toxicity as well. And these are work done by Dr. Alessandra Leventi at the Florida. At Clemson University, Z. Ahmed actually looked at the entire plant, and he also reported that Hachi is one of the most effective product, as well as Altus as well. And at University of Georgia, Dr. Shimet Joseph reported back and saying that Talus is one of the most effective insect growth regulators in controlling the two-spot cotton leaf hoppers. So again, SEPRO, we have a couple products that you can use to really help you manage this invasive pest and avoid quarantine. Next. And we also put out resources for you guys. We just put this out. What was it? This week, last week, which is the management and rotation guide for the two-spot cotton leafhopper. Within that, we provide you with information about where they are, what is happening with them, as well as next, more importantly, the rotation guide. In this particular case, I kind of divided the rotation for, you already have the plan, you already have the infestation, whether you're inertia or landscape, you want a quick knockdown and then residual control. Here are the rotation. And then you have preventive treatment for incoming plant material. So I think the incoming plant material is going to be important here because the two-spot cotton leafhopper lay their eggs inside the leaf vein. So you cannot see the eggs at all. Even if the plant look pretty clean, no nymphs, no adult, there may still be eggs on it. So you want to do some kind of preventive treatment on that. Talus is a good solution for that because it gives you that long residual control for the eggs and for the nymphs that are hatching and coming out to feed. So you start with Talus and then you can follow up with the other product that works well, Hachi Hachi, Altus, Asphate, and Telstar. Next.
So
So that's
I'm gonna
really all I got.
jump in on you, JC, again
Yeah.
for Lance. I think since UF has been working on this, do we know a timing pattern for the two-spot cotton leafhopper activity, certain temperature they thrive in, or a particular month or season that they're more prevalent?
Well, populations peak during the hottest months of the year. I mean, the temperature drives the population development of most insects and mites. So they're saying that the mites or the leafhopper, the optimal temperature is about 78, 79 degrees Fahrenheit. They like relative humidity around 70%. Rainfall, they don't respond very well to rainfall. They prefer locations with low rainfall. Uh, the adults live about 11 to 22 days. They can lay up to 60 eggs, depending on the host. But reproduction occurs year round, with the overlapping generations. The adults living for about a month. Again, 11 generations per year. Uh, they fluctuate based on environmental conditions, like I said, increasing when temperatures are between 81 and 93 degrees Fahrenheit. Relative humidity, again, 75 to 70%. Uh, but they start to have issues when you have heavy rainfall. And that's about the gist of what we know right now.
Dr. Osborne, one question that came through was that somebody had heard that like 40 degrees, if it hits 40 degrees, it'll kill the leaf hoppers. Are you hearing that, or do you understand that same thing?
I've heard that, but it also was killing most of the plants, so I'm not sure what. At least we have populations in and around the research center here. Only greenhouse populations can be found right now. And so I think the weather had an impact, but I'm not sure about the thermal death point for this particular pest, both low or high.
Well, as far as I know, Z Ahmed at Clemson University actually are looking at really the low temperature and see how that was going to impact them. And I haven't really talked to him and find out for sure, but it will come out very quickly. But one thing that Z really mentioned about the two-spotted leafhopper is that, even though the cotton grower, even though they have very distinct season, they probably shouldn't just let down their guard simply because when there's no cotton out there, the leafhopper can maintain a population on the hibiscus that's around, and both the hardy hibiscus as well as tropical hibiscus. So there's a pretty good chance that the hibiscus may, and also some of the vegetables, may actually become sort of a transition overwintering host as as they continue to spread in the southeast U.S.
In our greenhouse, we have we put okra, small okra plants, and they seem to prefer the okra over the hibiscus.
Interesting. So I think for the general panel too, this is on mode of action rotations, for, Zach, Billy out in the field, um, asking, should I alternate my modes of actions for each spray? So if I spray this week, do one mode of action, next week, another mode of action, or should I spray the maximum number of applications per insecticide before changing to the next one?
I can comment on that as a grower before. I've done it both ways. I've gone, let's just take mites on roses. I've gone to where made repeat applications based upon temperature, mites. Dr. Osborne can probably correct me if I'm wrong, but at 90 degrees, it's roughly 3 days, at least what I've seen or have read. And so make back-to-back applications of a single mode of action and then flip. But I've also done it elsewhere, other ways, and yielded similar results. So the biggest thing is make sure your rotation, you're getting through your mode of actions.
With mites, we've had a lot of discussion. I think you can get a room full of entomologists, and not a single one of them is going to agree with anybody else.
Probably.
Okay, so rotation is important, but we've started seeing some of our best growers who paid attention to us over rotating. Instead of having like 4 materials that they would count on, they had 5 or 6, and they put in that rotation some very weak players. And so that they ended up never breaking the life cycle because they used, some materials that were just not that effective. So you have to be somewhat careful of not over rotating. Does that make sense?
Absolutely.
Yep, I would echo that. I think over the years we've become very careful, making sure that we are, with the limited opportunities we have, we are making sure that our coverage is first and foremost there. I think coverage a lot of times when the pest is present is very important, obviously, to get that chemistry to them. So I think it's situational on how you rotate versus spraying the same active twice in a row. Kind of to go back to a couple different questions, though, I think coverage keeps coming up in my mind, and rotating not only the chemistry but sometimes the equipment if you're able to. Switching from a boom sprayer to maybe an orchard sprayer, or changing the direction that you walk if you're doing it by hand in a greenhouse or something like that. Just making sure that chemistry does actually get to the pest first and foremost. So, but also with the tank mixing, we try not to do more than 2 at a time, because you get the antagonism and you're not sure which pesticide did the damage, or which one was effective. And I think you get too many variables together, and it's really hard to know what did what.
Yeah, you lose track of what actually was working if you have a problem. If you starting to develop a resistance on your facility, you lose track if you have too much going on. Post application scouting. Once been told by a really good colleague, the plants don't lie and the bugs don't lie. So the scouting will tell you everything in regards to how your spray patterns are, and to adapt to get those coverages where they need to be.
I like to liken it to having bullets in your revolver. I mean, you only have certain number you can shoot, okay? You don't want to use up all the times you can say you can apply a certain compound. If it says twice and you do them right in a row, you really haven't done anything for yourself, because the residual activity of some of these compounds is long enough that you would have been better to keep that in reserve for a rotation, and not just shooting your whole wad all at once.
That's great information. Is Is there a specific list of host plants that are available for the cotton leafhopper? Or are we only looking at hibiscus?
We're trying to find other hosts, but it's with the weather, it's been kind of difficult.
Yeah, there's a pretty long list of 20-odd species of hosts that's been recorded, but a lot of those are actually come from reporting. We don't know for sure which one is just the leafhopper is there and which one that the leafhoppers can actually build a population on. So it's pretty hard to say what it is. Now, what we seems to have seen is that the plant family Malvaceae, which include cotton and okra and hibiscus, that group seems to be pretty preferred. And there's definitely differences, like Lance mentioned, is that there's going to be a difference how how preferred they are for particular species or cultivar. But that group of okra, cotton, hibiscus, mallow, that group seems to be a focus. So if folks are thinking about, what plant should I be worrying about? That would be the group that I go with first.
Casey, do you want to take some from the live
Sure. Yeah.
Q&A?
Yeah, thanks for the questions that have come in, and if you have questions, please feel free to put those in the Q&A section, and we'll try to get as many answered here while we have remaining time. But one question that came in is, we have been having more issues with thrip and broad mites on our geraniums. We grow large plants from liners October to May, and they become quite full and large. We have been fairly diligent with spraying, but still have some outbreaks. What seems to be the best spray rotation today for either pest, thrip and broad mite? Do you rotate sprays for a few weeks, then wait to see the results? Dr. Osborne, would you want to take a stab at that?
No.
No?
I think maybe I don't quite understand the question. Could you ask that again?
Yeah, so they had some issues with thrips and broad mites on geraniums, and they grow large liners October to May, and they're becoming quite full and large. They've been diligent about spraying to not have outbreaks, but what seems to be the best spray rotation for thrips and broad mites?
Well, broad mites, you sometimes indicate an issue. We find broad mite problems in crops that have an aphid or a whitefly population, because broad mites hitchhike on other insects. And so you may be, and you talked about the spider mite developing very rapidly. Broad mite is much, much worse. They go through it in a few days. Okay, so you can have a generation go through and come in on an aphid or a whitefly population, and then you all of a sudden you have a huge outbreak. So you have to be cognizant of how they're even getting into your crop. Thrips, again, they're very mobile, and depending on, you have to see if you can figure out where they might be coming from. As far as rotation, I think JC put, those are good recommendations to start with. Maybe putting in something with a little longer residual activity. If it's hard to get good coverage, things that might have translaminar or systemic activity, to see if you could get more of the material into where these things are actually hiding. With the broad mite, they're generally always in the very tips. Depending on the species of thrips, they're going to be in the new growth or the flower buds, and make sure that you're getting material to those places that they prefer.
Yeah, and I would say you could definitely download the ornamental insecticide guide. At the back of it, we have a rotation program for broad mites. And the problem with broad mite rotation is that there's really not that many miticide that is effective for broad mites. So that is one, at least in my experience, that is one species they really want to bring in some of the low risk broad spectrum chemical, such as soap and oil, really to help you calm it down a little bit, especially in propagation, that's for sure. And for thrips, the thrips Pavis spinous rotation, the the product or the mode of action that is included in that rotation for thrips Pavis spinous also works very well for the most other thrip species, including the western flower thrips, at least in my experience.
Thanks for that, to both of you on that answer. Does JC or Billy or even Dennis, does Akari require a wetting agent?
I would strongly urge if you're applying it, I found that applying a spreading agent or a sticking agent was effective across the board. It's going to help you with your overhead irrigation, but it's also on your waxy leaf surfaces. It's going to help break that surface tension and allow that material to spread out. So for the minimal cost that it adds to the application, to the benefit, I think it's well worth it.
Thanks, Billy.
I will agree with that. Definitely want to add in the wetting agent. In fact, I think in a lot of product, adding a wetting agent or surfactant spreader stickers is probably not a bad idea. It really helps you to get some of the product onto the plant tissue itself.
If I can go back one thing, we don't necessarily have a product for it, but I'm here to help as much as I can. When you're getting your hydrangeas, you may want to kind of explore dipping your cuttings when they're arriving from your offshore sites. That has been proven to eliminate a lot of the source of your broad mites from the beginning, and you don't ever end up with those. I know it sounds labor intensive, but the challenge is when you have full-size plants after 6 months of effort, that minimal pain pays dividends in the end.
What effect does Akari have on beneficial mites, which I think JC you covered, but might be good just to reiterate.
Sure. So Akari is when you spray on a population that's already there for the predatory mite, it is not compatible with a predatory mite. For some other insects or like parasitoid or predators, depending on the species, some are compatible, some are somewhat compatible. But if your biocontrol agent focus on using predatory mite, Akari is not compatible with it. But again, like I mentioned earlier, that doesn't mean that Akari is completely out for you, because there are certain situations that Akari can still work very well. One of them is basically that if your biocontrol agents cannot really keep the mite population down, you might have to reset the clock. In that case, a broad spectrum miticide like Akari can reduce your spider mite population, and then you can reintroduce your biocontrol agents at a higher number just to keep the mite population down again.
Yeah, to add to that, just kind of look at your application of your beneficial programs and on mites in particular. And if you're at a weekly or bi-weekly application, depending on what your thresholds and your pressures are, time out your Akari application if you feel you're not where you need to be, 3 days prior to the arrival of your next set of bugs. And you should be clear to release at that point.
Yeah, I'll say that we have a lot of nurseries in Florida that are real heavy on biocontrol programs, which is fantastic. And just due to the climate we have, sometimes the predatories just cannot keep up. And when that happens, they'll wait till the population is getting overrun. Many of them do use Akari. They kill everything, and then they will re-release in 3 days with no issues. So the Akari apparently is ineffective as well as a residual on those predatory mites. So I'd certainly, and with some quite large nurseries that do this regular over the past 5 years, I'm very confident to say 3 days and you're good to go to re-release your population of predatories.
What rate of towel, I think this was covered too, but what rate of towel should be used on mealybugs?
16 fluid ounce per 100.
JC, this was, and anybody can discuss this as well. How has Altus performed for you in terms of efficacy and overall results? Would you say is more effective on certain pests?
Well, I guess I'll start and everybody else can tore me down, I guess. But at least in my experience, Altus has been pretty effective for me when it comes to sucking insects. Um, just like a lot of the neonicotinoid is very much similar to very similar to neonicotinoid. It's a great sucking insect product. Whiteflies, aphids, those works pretty well. In some of the situation where I deal with scale insects and mealybugs, they're a little bit weaker. But combine it, used in conjunction with other product, you can get a pretty good efficacy out of it too. But it's kind of weak, in my opinion, for some of the chewing insects like caterpillars and beetles, for sure. And in fact, I don't think they're even registered for those pests. So that's my thought on it.
And there might be somebody else on the panel that has any comments too, but
Yeah, we've used quite a bit of Altus. Does a great job in our rotation for hoppers. The REI is really a big thing for us. Obviously, it's not the determining factor for us, but for our shipping reasons, 4 hours is a really big sell for us. Not a standalone product. We're still using other things in rotation, but it's always been a good one for us across the board, really, for leaf hoppers.
thank you. Thanks, Zach. Is it recommended to do Zach might have you answer this if you could. Is it recommended to do a full rate of insecticides on lines, plugs when they arrive for a preventative, or should I apply a lower rate to not burn my material?
Bailey Nurseries, we tend to go kind of mid road to kind of alleviate some of that. So you're still effective, but maybe not overloading it right away, especially if it's a tender rooted cutting or a smaller plug material. So that's kind of the route we take. But I suppose that could be situational too, based on how bad the infestation is, or if it's more of a preventative.
Yeah, that's where I would kind of land when I was grower is I would take and just evaluate, scout the product as it was being unloaded, kind of determine what your thresholds are. On an insect thing, I was pretty aggressive. You get sometimes just for example, you get something with botrytis. A lot of times I would urge our production teams to get those in a pot quicker because I can get more air movement around them with, less chemistry needing to be applied. But I'd really say it's a case by case basis in regards to scouting and what those populations look like.
We may have answered this, and if we have, just stop me, but what's the best rotation for scale and mealybugs? How should I combat them effectively?
That one, I don't think you could come up with a best rotation. Okay, that one, if you look at everybody that I know, at least the researchers, look at the IR4 data package on mealybugs and scales, and you can see the variability is just amazing. Okay, so you have one scientist, he's looking at the same insect colony, same host plant. One study, he'll have good efficacy, another, he doesn't. And so it's hard putting together these rotations or one formula will fit all. And we find, and JC mentioned earlier, that there's differences between efficacy on not all mealybugs are the same. Citrus mealybug is in some worlds seems more difficult to control than say Madeira. So the bottom line is I think you try a recommended rotation like JC is saying, and your scouts will tell you if it's effective or not. You need, with mealy bugs and scales, you need to realize that you have a population on the leaf surface, and they're going to have, when you look at them, they can be stacked up in a big pile. And your chemistry, if it's a contact, will kill a lot of the stuff on the top of the pile, but it's not going to impact anything on the bottom because they just don't get enough of the material. The opposite would be a systemic. They may not, you hit it with the systemic, and it's going to go in, and the insects that are actually on the bottom feeding will get a lethal dose, but the ones on the top aren't going to get the lethal dose. You have to make sure when you're spraying the plants that you spray the environment, because mealybugs, when they're ready to start laying eggs, there's a certain portion of the population that crawls off, hides underneath the edge of the pots, in under the pots, in the interior scape. They'll get into the stucco. So you have to spray the kind of the environment in order to break the life cycle. Uh, so, I know I didn't answer the question, but it's hard to put a recommendation together about, and I think you look at if I always recommend going to the IR4 because you can see some patterns. You can see that some of these things most of the time work well, but there are certain failures, and we don't know why.
Well,
Well,
Dr.
I
Osborne, I
guess
think it was a great answer.
I guess in the last minute, I'll just put in one word as well, which is that, feel free to reach out to me, reach out to Lance as well. We've been working with mealybugs and scale insects for a long time, so we got probably a few things to share. Uh, but uh, but one thing that I want to definitely mention is that, you know, Lance was saying that there's going to be a lot of variations when you look at some of the data, some of the numbers, and different species may respond differently. At least in my experience, the systemic product still works very well, including a neonicotinoid, still works very well for me. So there are some options for sure. The idea is going to be, especially for scale insects, is thinking about how you're going to get that product to them to control them at the right stage, like right time. So we can talk more about that offline for sure.
Well, Dr. Osborne, JC, Zach, Dennis, and Billy and Brock, thanks for helping to lead this conversation today, and thanks for everyone to being a part of this webinar. Hope you learned something. As JC said, feel free to reach out to anyone here at SEPRO, and make sure you download the insecticide posters or the 2-spot cottonleaf hopper rotation as well. And have a great day. Thanks for your support, and have a great spring.